It's Lori from Lori's Little Bit of Crafting. I am an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in the United States. Oh, pardon my reach. And I am coming to you from Wisconsin. And I'm going to try to get my other device up here so I can see if anybody joins me. So tonight, I am going to try to merge a few sets together and make hopefully a cute card. We'll see how it works out. So these are a bunch of things that are actually on the last chance list, which means they might have a reduced price, they might not have a reduced price, but once they're gone, they're gone. Okay. I'm going to try to shift this a little bit more. Maybe I'm shifting it the wrong way. There we go. Anyway, so I am going to use this set one more year because I think the pug is absolutely adorable. And I am going to use two sentiments out of here. So the you're how old in dog years you'd be. And on the inside, I'm going to put at least you're not as old as you'll be next year. And then we'll put a cake on there. So that's the focal point, kind of. And then what I thought I would try to do is this country birdhouse kit, or stamp set rather, is also on the last chance list. And I thought the little dog with the dog house might be cute. So we'll see if this is going to work out. You just never know sometimes. So what I did was I am just using the dies from the country birdhouse set, and I cut out two pieces. So I cut out in pecan pie the top layer, and I put it through an embossing folder, which is the timber embossing folder, which I also think is on the last chance list. I think everything I'm using is kind of on the last chance list. But I really like this, so I don't know if you can really see that very well, but it added some texture to the doghouse. Now, this looks really hokey, I know, but hopefully we're going to fix it so that what's in my head might come down onto the paper adequately. So we'll see. So then I cut a second one out of early espresso, and this is actually going to become the door. So let's get rid of that. Let's get these things out of the way. And I am going to use, excuse me, I am going to use just my bigger scissors. It's not as easy with my snips, but I'm just going to cut off the bottom part of this birdhouse. Don't need that because that's going to come behind here. All right. And I'm not going to do it over again. But what I did was I took this die piece and I put it on here and basically die cut a little bit out of there. I flipped it over. I die cut a little bit out of there because what I'm envisioning is the door to the doghouse. And I didn't want it black because it's really not that dark inside a doghouse, at least not the ones I've seen. So I'm just going to freehand cut out the part in between. And I think that'll be good enough for my dog. So I'm going to go ahead and glue these two pieces together. Now, I think I might want to add just a little bit more appearance of texture on the doghouse. Not that the doghouse is the big thing, but I do want it to look nice. And I'm just not sure it's going to have quite enough texture for what I want. So let's just go like this. And with the glue, of course, I have a little bit of wiggle room. And then what I'm going to do is just trim off this little piece here that's hanging over the edge. All right. So what I think I want to do is add some pecan pie and blend that into the wood grain. So let me see where that color is. I must already have it out somewhere. So let's do crumb cake instead. My pecan pie is someplace. I was at a craft fair today, and I have not put all of my things away yet. So my crafting space is in more of a state of shambles than it normally is. Oh, and I didn't grab a blending brush. Okay. I thought I was all together, but apparently not. And I don't have one for my crumb cake, so we're going to use a new brush. I love the blending brushes. The bristles are so very soft. And I typically don't clean mine between uses because I I'm such a fan of the blending brushes. I use them on a lot of things. So I have designated colors to go with my ink pads. And I obviously don't normally blend with my crumb cake. So let's even see if this is going to show up. I need to get this layer out of the way. Oh, it does. The pecan might have been a little too dark, but I just want to give this a little extra color. Pick up some of the wood grains a little bit more. I got a little heavy on the top because I didn't think it was going to come through as well. So that's pretty good. So this piece that I used that was the bottom of the birdhouse, we're not using that at all. So that's going to go bye-bye. So this is going to end up going over here. Now, what I did was I've got my thick basic white cardstock, and with my 8.5 by 11 piece, I scored it at 5.5. All right, so I scored it at 5.5 the long way, and then I cut it down the middle at 4.25 so that I have the landscape view rather than the portrait view. And then I've made a couple of layers of Azure Afternoon. And then this is going to go here. We're going to stamp our little dog. I was coloring just to see how the colors were going to work out, and I really kind of like how that turned out. So hopefully when I recolor it, it will look similar. We used to have a pug living with us, and she was a sweetheart, and that's kind of how she was colored. So this is going to become my front. And then on the inside, I have already completed that layer and the sentiment. At least you're not as old as you'll be next year. So I'm going to set that off to the side. So hopefully I don't get those dirty. And I'm going to get rid of crumb cake. And one other thing that I forgot to mention was with the country birdhouse dies, there are a number of pieces in here. So you can make a fancy little frame in here. There's like a little trim piece that can go in here. So this could go in here if you're doing it like as a birdhouse, or if I wanted to maybe just actually this goes up here. I just realized it was the wrong size. So that would go up like that. And then everything matches up. Okay. So you can dress it up as much as you want or as little as you want. I may as well put a few of these things away so that I don't lose them. I know it's great to have it on my magnet, and I'm not even sure where that goes. So I guess I won't put it away just yet. So let's put a little glue on here. That was a good catch. It's been a really long day because after my last video, I was actually up for quite a while getting ready for all of the craft fair things. And then we were at the craft fair all day. It was a nice little craft fair. I've never been to this particular one. It was at one of the small elementary schools in our area. So it was nice. Cute little school. Nice people. All right, so there's our doghouse. We're going to see how that looks. Okay. And then let's go ahead and kind of see how this is going to work out. So the doghouse is probably going to get partially cut off, and I'm all right with that. All right. So I'm going to do just a little bit of Blue on the Sky, because I think I want to soften that up a little bit. And I just want it real light. I know one of the gals that stamps with me does not like to use blending brushes because she said it takes too long to get the color you want, which is true because you do kind of want to go gradually to get the color you want. So hopefully you can see that. There's a little bit of blue. So it's just enough to break up the bright white of my card. Okay. So we can put that away, I think. And then again, if we set this here, our dog is going to go here-ish. And then we're going to put the, let's get this out of the way for now. We're going to put the cake way over here. So this piece here is, oh, well, what are the chances you think that I can actually get this lined up? Probably close to 0. I forgot I had not wiped off my cake stamp when I made a little mask here, because I'm going to put, I made a mask with the cake because I'm going to put some yellow blending on there. What are the chances? It's not going to work. I just know it. But we're going to flip this over and we're going to do this again. And then I'll do the blue, the Azure Afternoon Blue afterwards. So I am using the Memento ink, the black ink, because I am going to be using alcohol blends. Now you can see here the alcohol blends didn't blend in with the Memento because the Memento is water-based. The alcohol markers are alcohol-based, so they can work together without bleeding the colors, okay? So let's try this again. Sorry for the repeat, but you know, that's how it is sometimes. I have to make sure I don't get this too dark. And I got a big smudge there, but that's not going to matter because the doghouse is going to go there. Hopefully there's no ink on my fingers. You know, best laid plans. You think you've got everything set up, and then you don't. So I think that'll work. All right, we're going to be done with the Azure Afternoon. The cake then, this little mask is going to go here because I want to put some flaming emphasis. This is for my crumb cake. I want to put some flaming emphasis by those candles, the candle flames. So I do want to make sure that I don't have it crazy bold, but I want to have it bright. Now I could have used the masking paper that we have. I just didn't have it handy. So I just did it with the cardstock. So I used thick basic white, I think I said, for the base of the card. And this is just the basic white. All right. So we're done with that. Now I am going to use this light peach pie and darken up these candles a little bit, because I think that gave it a little more realistic look. And it doesn't take much. And I'm using the bullet point of my marker. You can kind of hear it screech in there. Let's just put a little color on here. I hadn't considered what I needed the cake to be colored. But with the Stampin' Blends, this thin line means that's the bullet point. And there's a picture of that. The thick line means that's the brush point. And you want to make sure that when you're using your brush point, you're not pushing down hard. You want to always do it at an angle so that you don't break the tip of your brush. I get sad when the tip of my brush gets messed up. So let's just make this not bright white. So again, I'm using the bullet point here just because I don't want to go outside of my lines in some of these detailed areas. Okay, I think that'll be good enough. Okay, and then we can have white frosting, that's fine. All right, hopefully I will pick up the pace. Now, our little pug is gonna go there. So let me get some Memento ink on our little pug. And the reason why I did, even though I'm doing a layer here, I originally was just gonna put this layer on here and have kind of white on white because I thought that looked all right, but it really seemed to pop better with that extra layer. But when you use your alcohol blends, it will sometimes go through the paper. All right, so just know that that's going to happen. So let's go ahead and put our little pug over here because it's his cake or her cake, I guess. And we are going to start coloring. So we're going to give the head a couple of stripes. I'm going to give a little blue tint to the eye. We're going to use a little crumb cake on the nose. I'm going to kind of do a lot of crumb cake here. And here I could actually use the brush. And basically what I'm doing with this lighter color here is just kind of priming the paper to kind of get it damp. And then when I do my other colors, it'll be a little easier to blend. Now I know some people like to do the dark color first and then use the light color to fill things in. And I do it both ways. But with our little pug here, I did it with the light color first when I was doing my warm up. All right. All right. So little pug is kind of damp there. We're going to do some yellow highlights here. We're going to do some petal pink for the tongue. And we'll put a little bit of pinkish on the nose. It's not showing a whole lot, but then we're going to take a couple of these grays. All right, so this should be light smoky slate. Oh, this is dark gray granite. And this is dark smoky slate. So I think, yeah, that's the really dark one. So all I did was I actually colored pretty hard. And I'm like, oh my goodness, what did I just do? But it turned out really good. Usually, and my tip is a little broken. I don't know if you can see how flexible that tip is. So it has been used improperly by my standards. But let's go ahead and roll with it because I can't change it right now. Sometimes it happens when you have classes, people just aren't real familiar with how to use the blends, even though you explain. Use the tips, or use the side, don't use the tip. So we're just going to add some darker coloring in here. And I wanted it darker, like where the belly is close to the ground, because you're figuring, oh, there's going to be a shadow there, right? I think that looks pretty good. And then I'm going to go back in with that light crumb cake again and just blend in some of these colors. And as it dries, you're going to see less differentiation between those colors and just more subtle tone changes or hue changes. Let's lighten up that forehead a little bit too. You don't want her to look mean. Okay, so that turned out pretty good. And I don't know if you can see it on there, but when I push a lighter color in there, it actually kind of moves the darker color around in the paper. So I might be lightening that up too much, but I think it'll be good. All right. So there's our pup. Now, oh, I wanted to use this crumb cake to just put some grounding on our pup. So it doesn't look like the pup is just in midair. I think that'll kind of work. I might have done a little too much. And then this can come over here. And we'll do some grounding on that too. I guess I want most of the roof line to show, but we're going to glue that on. So what I think I'm going to do is take my pencil so that I can tell where I need to put my glue. Oops. So my glue, we're going to put all the way in here. I'm still nursing along this bottle of glue because I hate to throw them away before they're all the way empty. So there's usually some clinging to the sides. And when I tap it down on my table, then it usually brings a little bit more. So something like that-ish. That should be pretty good. We'll let that set for a second. This I don't need anymore. And I'm going to put a little more blending here, I guess. I could probably put some green or something in there. I feel like I need something on the house, on the dog house, but we'll see how it looks afterwards. So let's just trim these extra pieces. I guess I need a little bit more off of that. It's a little thick there, so let's just force it to do what I want it to do. All right, so that'll be here. So now let's go ahead and put this. How old are you? I don't think that's going to be enough. Now this is a different kind of ink pad than like the standard colors. This is more of a foam. This is more of a linen fabric. So I think that'll be okay. I think that'll work. So let's get this here. Hopefully this will be pretty straight. And if it's not, I meant for it to be crooked. That'll be my story. Okay, that looks pretty good. And I have little smudges on my fingers. Can't really tell anymore. So I think we need to put, I don't know. I'll figure something out, some kind of gem or something. I don't know. And I might actually want to do, oh, wrong color. Let's do a little blending here. So if you're joining me, I would love to know where you're from. If you like the video, I'd appreciate thumbs up if you could. If you don't already follow my channel, feel free to follow. And if you share it, that's always helpful too. It's going to go a little bit around the edges here. I may have done a little too much with the crumb cake. So let's try to fill this in a little bit more, I guess. Doesn't have quite the same look that I wanted, but I think it looked better there when I just didn't have quite as much. But let's put some Stampin' Seal on here. I think I got all the corners. I'll make just a nice thin border around there. See, this is why I like my Tombow multi-purpose liquid glue, because I have a little bit more wiggle room. See, that's a little crooked and I don't like that so much. But once the tear tape is down, or the Stampin' Seal, sometimes you can still get it off the paper if you're careful. That's better. Let's close this so I don't have an accident with that. And then I think what I want to do is, do I want to put that on dimensionals? I don't think so. So I'm going to use a little bit more Stampin' Seal here. Now, Stampin' Seal, you probably either love it or hate it. Kind of like Fast Fuse. Back in the day when we had Fast Fuse. And I really liked Fast Fuse once I learned how heavy a hand I could have with it. You know, it's kind of an acquired technique. Actually, I don't know if that doghouse will need anything or not. So, I think that's pretty cool, but maybe I wonder if a little Wink Stella might help. Hopefully that won't bleed any of the colors. You probably can't see that, but I can. We'll give the tail a little, or the tongue rather, a little wet look. We'll go like that. And let's try to flick a little bit on here to sparkle up the doghouse just a little bit. All right. So that's it. So we're using old stuff that's on the last chance list. I shouldn't really say it's old because some of it is not that old. But we've got the timber embossing folder that I used for the doghouse. We've got the country birdside dies that I did the doghouse. And then we've got one more year. And a few little techniques with the blending brushes. And I think it turned out pretty good. So the coloring worked out pretty good too. So that's what I have. Hope you like the card. If you do, again, please give me a thumbs up. If you share the video, I appreciate that as well. We are done, I think, with the special offer for cardstock. Prices are going up for both cardstock and designer series paper. So I have not expired this host code yet because I've been doing the craft fair all day and now it's late night Lori time. So if you use this host code before I turn it off, if you buy 6 packs of cardstock, probably today before I turn it off, I will basically buy one of those packs for you. I will send you back money to cover the cost of one of your repacks. So you'll get 6. You'll essentially only have to pay for 5. And you can stock up before the prices go up. Okay. You can shop with me at lorimacari.stampinup.net. If you're on a computer or a tablet and you have your phone handy, you can scan my QR code. That'll get you right to my page. And I think that's all I have for you tonight. Thanks for stopping by again. And until next time, happy stamping.